Thank you, John. Good morning, and thanks everybody for being here this morning. As John indicated, I'm joined by Deputy Mayor and Chief of Police Troy Davenport and by Randy Evans, the Director of the Pueblo County Department of Public Health and Environment. The President of the City Council, Dennis Flores, had intended to be with us this morning, but he got detained at another appointment. I want to make two important announcements today, and then as we'll open it up for questions, and the Chief and Randy are here to answer any questions that you might have of them. The announcements I want to make detail the efforts of the City of Pueblo to deal with the recent spike in cases related to COVID-19. We've been carefully monitoring the infection rate in Pueblo since our first case in March. On a daily basis, we get information from the State Department of Public Health regarding the results of the testing in Pueblo. Over the last week, there's been a tremendous spike in cases, which has resulted in increased hospitalizations in Pueblo. COVID-19 is growing exponentially in the city of Pueblo and in the state of Colorado. We must redouble our efforts to slow the spread of the virus. We must do everything we can to keep our schools open and to keep our businesses open. If we don't take action now, my fear is that we will see increased deaths in the city of Pueblo and we'll see more businesses failing. The city of Pueblo has invested more than $3 million in our small businesses this year to help them deal with this pandemic, and I want to protect that investment, and the actions I'm taking today will help keep them open. As you all know, Colorado has a COVID-19 dial that considers 3 metrics to measure the extent of the virus in a community: the total cases in the last 2 weeks, the positivity rate of testing in the last 2 weeks, and whether hospitalizations in a community from COVID-19 are increasing or decreasing. On all of these metrics, Pueblo is going in the wrong direction. Here's where Pueblo stands as we face a third peak that's growing exponentially. On October 1st, our 2-week positivity rate for tests was 1.4%. On October 27th, the day before yesterday, it was 5.6%. The positivity rate has quadrupled in the month of October. Another metric we look at is whether the hospitalizations are increasing because of COVID-19. Parkview Hospital has the largest number of COVID-19 cases in its hospital since March. On Wednesday night, there were 33 cases, and this morning I talked to the CEO of Parkview Hospital. There are 34 COVID-19 cases at Parkview at the present time. The number of patients hospitalized with COVID-19 at Parkview Hospital has tripled in the month of October. One of our goals, and we need to make sure that both hospitals have the capacity to handle COVID-19 cases as well as other medical cases that arise in the city of Pueblo. Parkview Hospital is now stretched to the limit, and they have very little wiggle room. On October 27th, in this community, there were only 2 ICU beds available between Parkview and St. Mary Corwin Hospital that were not occupied. I'm deeply concerned about what COVID-19 is doing to our Hispanic community. Hispanics make up nearly 1 in 3 cases of COVID-19 in the state of Colorado. In Pueblo, while we don't know the rate of COVID-19 cases among Hispanics, we do know that with Hispanics making up 51% of the population in the city of Pueblo, COVID-19 is impacting that community. I'm concerned about how this exponential growth of the virus and a possible closure would impact those working multiple jobs to make ends meet and those in our service industry, where 1 positive case in a household can cause financial strain. Additionally, for the last month and a half, we have been sampling our wastewater along with other Front Range communities in Colorado. We've been sampling the 7 basins in Pueblo. We test that water in those basins, and those tests tell us whether there is increased COVID-19 RNA from the coronavirus. There's a correlation between that increased RNA in our wastewater and the number of individuals in Pueblo who will get sick with the virus in the next few days. We have seen sharp increases in our COVID RNA in our wastewater. It's an early warning system for us. In total, the most recent numbers for Pueblo County from the State Health Department for the 2-week incident rate of cases per 100,000 population is about 357. Actually, it's gone up to about 368 in the last 2 days. That's 368 cases per 100,000 population. On October 1st, it was 66 cases every 2 weeks. So you can see what's happened to the number of cases. The 357 cases is well above the threshold to move to level 3, which is above 175 cases. If you have more than 175 cases in a 2-week period, the COVID dial would say you should move to level 3. And if the numbers remain where they're at right now, we'll even be at a stay-at-home level. The threshold for stay-at-home is 350 cases in a 2-week period. As you know, Pueblo is currently at a level 2 on the statewide COVID dial. However, the increase in cases and hospitalizations jeopardize that status and suggest that we could roll back to a level 3. We've got a very limited period of time to act, or we'll have more restrictions and may have to go back to staying at home full-time. If we enter the stay-at-home level, that'll be like it was in March and April. All but critical and essential businesses, as defined by the 4th Amended Public Health Order dated October 27, 2020, will be required to shut down. If we move to the stay-at-home level, most of our small businesses will shut down. I want to avoid that at all costs, but that decision is not up to me. It is up to each and every one of us who want to keep our businesses open to do our part. We know what has to be done to slow the spread of this virus, but not enough of us are doing it. We must wear our masks, even in our homes when persons outside our immediate household are present. We must avoid large gatherings. A public health order limits gatherings in private homes to 10 people and not more than 2 households. Obviously, we have a hard time enforcing that kind of a public health order. That requires all of us to enforce it on ourselves. What we are facing in Pueblo is a public health disaster which threatens lives and our economy. It requires that we take immediate action. To save Pueblo's businesses and to save lives and to fight COVID-19, I'm announcing 2 immediate actions that we are taking to slow the spread of the virus. First, we are stepping up our enforcement efforts. Since August, the City of Pueblo has had COVID-19 enforcement and compliance technicians visiting local businesses to make sure they are aware of and are in compliance with the rules of our COVID-19 status. Most of our businesses have been bending over backwards to comply with the rules and to make sure that their customers comply. However, despite education and multiple warnings, some businesses have failed to comply with health orders. Last night, the Pueblo Liquor Board summarily suspended the liquor license of the Broadway Tavern for 3 days, beginning on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the liquor license of the Broadway Tavern has been suspended. A hearing will be held next week to determine if further actions should be taken. I've made it very clear from the beginning of this pandemic that this was the course of action that would be pursued for businesses licensed by the City of Pueblo if they fail to comply with the requirements of our COVID-19 status and our variances. I wish this action was not necessary, but as our numbers continue to rise, I would rather close one business for a few days than close all of our businesses. I hope this is the only license that has to be suspended, but if others fail to comply, some reaction will be taken against them. We intend to step up our enforcement actions to slow the spread of the virus. I also want to announce today that I am imposing a 2-week curfew for the City of Pueblo, commencing at 10 p.m. Friday, October 30th, through 5 a.m. Friday, November 13th. This curfew will be in effect every night between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. in the City of Pueblo. This means that no one may be out on the public streets of Pueblo during these hours unless they are engaged in critical and essential activities as defined by the Fourth Amended Public Health Order dated October 27, 2020. I realize that this is drastic action, but we need to spend these 2 weeks in Pueblo slowing the spread of the virus, or Pueblo will move to level 3, which will decrease the capacity of our businesses, and possibly we'll move to the stay-at-home level, which will close our businesses. I expect that Puebloans will honor this curfew, but if they do not, they'll be cited for a Class 1 municipal offense and may be fined up to $1,000 and put in jail for a year. I hope that it doesn't come to that, but rest assured, if it means keeping our citizens healthy and our businesses open, those penalties will be imposed. Anyone found violating the curfew will be cited by the Pueblo Police Department. Pueblo, this is a fight for our lives and our livelihoods. I'm calling on you to do your part, not just for the next 2 weeks, but until we have won this war. Wear a mask with anyone outside your immediate family. Avoid all gatherings of 10 people or more. Even if you're in a small group, remain masks. Wear your mask. Get tested when you have symptoms. And be helpful to contact tracers if your test comes back positive. I'm not asking you to do this for me. I'm asking you to do this for our businesses and our schools. Pueblo, for the next 2 weeks, you need to fight COVID-19 at home. You need to fight it by not gathering to watch football or UFC. You need to fight it by wearing a mask when visiting a friend. You need to fight it by staying home when you are sick. I'm asking that you avoid those casual and family gatherings that are spreading COVID-19 in our community. Our businesses and our schools have done their part to provide a safe environment. Now we must all do our part. Let me conclude by saying that we will get through this together, Pueblo. What kind of shape we'll be in at the end of this, and how many of our small businesses will survive this pandemic, depends on what we do today. Thank you. And we're